let's look at the differences between equalization techniques. Let's look at the differences between them. You should know by now we have different kind of equalization techniques where we have the low cuts, low pass, we have the low shell filters, we have the high cuts, we have the we have high cut or high pass, we have the high shell filters, we have the bell, we have notch, we have tilt, right? So what do all these things mean, right? So I'll be playing this and we'll actually go through them one after the other. First of all, let's start with the low cuts, right? So now you've heard the music, right? So now the job of a low cut basically, right? This is a low cut right now. So I'm gonna right click here and shape. So shape right currently now is a low cut. So the job of a low cut basically is in the word already. It is to cut low frequencies. So once I start playing, so by the time I drag it to any frequency I want, right? Currently I'm around, as you can see, at 15 hertz. 15 hertz. So I'm going to start dragging it all the way to, let's say, 2000, 5000 ish. Let's see how it sounds now. So let's go. So as you can notice, the more I drag it closer to the higher frequencies, it becomes thinner, right? There's no body in it again. So play. Then I start pulling this back and I start having the body back of the music back. So that's how a low cut works. The low cut basically cuts everything that is basically from low frequency and above, right? So let's disable this guy. So that's the low cut slash and high pass filter. Now let us do the other side. So this is basically the same thing actually. Just that it works in vice versa. It's cause the high frequencies and so you get the idea, right? So that is it. That's it actually. So this thing is actually quite straightforward. Now the next one we're going to be looking at is going to be, let's see, okay, the low shell filter, right? So now the low shell filter basically just dips in states. It doesn't cut it out entirely like the low cut filter, right? It just reduces that frequency part. So as you can see, I can still hear the low end, but it is much more. It doesn't sound. The depth is now moving down. It doesn't have that depth like it's had before. The depth is no longer there again. That's the major difference between cutting and shelving, right? So when you cut, you're actually cutting the entire frequency range at that point where you are. When you shelve, you're not cutting the frequency entirely. What you're just doing is reducing the sounds around that frequency. So you're just bringing it down. It's like you're gaining it down, reducing the volume of that particular part. So next one on our list, right? Look at it. Let's find out what is next. So shape, okay, bell, right? So the bell works in a different way. So you can use a bell to like bring down certain frequencies, right? So in certain areas. But one thing about the bell is that it doesn't work like a cut. So if I want to like cut an entire frequency, I can't cut it. It works kind of like a shelf, right? But except for the fact that shelf will start from the way end, like 0 hertz to wherever frequency you're trying to shelf, or from 20,000 or 40,000 hertz, as the case may be, to wherever you're trying to shelf. Unlike the bell just works once you select a midpoint. Once you have a midpoint, the bell just starts pulling things down from there. So once you have the midpoint, right? As soon as it starts pulling down, everything around that midpoint, close to that midpoint, starts coming down alongside it, right? So before you know it, my target right now, let's say I targeted roughly 500 hertz, right? By the time I look at this place, all the parts that has been cut down, I'm literally taking it up to over 5000 hertz, and on the low frequency, that is around 30 hertz already, which means that this build I just did so deep, at minus 26.77 dB already took out a lot of information in the music. Let's play the track. See? Now let's take it off. Yeah. So that's one thing a BL actually does. Now, a notch is a different case. Actually, a notch is not essentially different. It is more similar to the bell, but it is much more tiny. Look at it here. What a notch does is that it majorly focuses on one frequencies, then spreads its wings out like the bell. That's what a notch does. So I can easily notch it more, but a notch is designed to actually focus on majorly on just one frequency. So it could focus majorly, for instance, the frequency it's focusing on right now is 453.8 hertz, right? So every other thing around it, every other frequency around it, it doesn't matter. So the see from to around what am I here? So maybe 500 hertz, but basically it doesn't go as wide as the builders, right? So if you're looking to target just one particular frequency, or maybe just two frequencies in particular, maybe there's a particular ringing noise that's popping out somewhere, and you want to just notch down that ringing noise. The notch, it is your guy. That notch is your guy in that regard. Not the bell, not the low chords, not the high chords. The notch is your guy in that regard. So, um, oh, what's me? Yeah, uh, yeah. What am I looking at? So, yeah, the band pass. So what the band pass does is that it just takes out every other thing, right? You remember the bell just takes out a particular side, right? Something with the not it did not takes out a particular frequency. The bell takes out a particular frequency range, right? But for the not for this particular one right here, what it does is that it takes down the part you selected is what you'll be listening to. So why other part that is not selected will be cancelled out of the frequency. So other things are being cancelled out of the frequency entirely right now. So I can't hear the other bands, just the particular ones that have been selected is what I can hear. That is what the band pass does for you. So let's say for instance I'm looking to listen to the low end only. I can simply just apply my band pass to that low end frequency, which is something around this place. So that's me widening it up actually. But the band pass majorly, this is how a band pass looks like. So every other thing that is outside this particular range, it gets nullified. That is, you don't hear the sound from it at all. Right? So the next one on our list now is now the tilt, right? Tilt shelf. So what it just does is that it boosts a certain area, which is mostly the low ends, and now drops a certain area, which is mostly the high end frequency. Now, it's not particularly limited to this particular point, which is 550 hertz downwards. I can simply just click left, left click on it and just drag it, and I can expand it by going higher. See, so when I do the reverse, as you can see, it has switched. When I come down, it has also switched. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. So let's say mostly I'm trying to achieve a bit more of low end and less of the high frequencies. I can easily apply this. If that's what I'm trying to achieve, I can easily apply this particular filter to do this for me. So it just takes up the low end and reduces the high frequencies. Or I can do it in vice versa, whereby I increase the high frequencies while reducing the low frequencies too. Well, the last one, but not the least, the flat tilt. So what the flat tilt does is that it helps me balance the entire frequency, right? So let's say I'm playing this and I notice that the high frequency is more than the low frequency. Instead of using what I used earlier, I can just come over to tilt and just tilt it a bit. So it doesn't give you a boost. It just kind of it shifts it like I want to say like a ladder, but like a slide. Yeah, if you've ever done a slide before, you know that once one person goes up, other person comes down, right? So like a slide, but unless just the difference is that this one is a slide that's trying to balance the frequency spectrum for you. So let's say that the low frequency is too much and I want to bring it down. I can just do a get. It can also go as far as increasing everything though, but what I majorly use it for personally is just to balance the low and the high frequency so they sound, they are entwined. Like you can actually place a ruler on them and be like, okay, yes, what I've done is actually okay. Not that the low end is sounding a lot and the high frequency is kind of buried, or vice versa. So these are the major kind of equalizer filters you actually find anywhere in the world, right? So study them and know when to apply them. Know when to apply them is also another angle. So you need to know when to actually apply these filters too.